When Liam went missing in 2012, everyone assumed he slipped off the trail. No trace, no gear, nothing. But 7 years later, a GoPro was found wedged between two canyon rocks, still recording. The footage showed Liam standing near the edge, whispering like someone was behind him. Then movement, a shadow that didn't move like a person. The screen flickered, and for a second, it looked like Liam was watching himself from the other side of the canyon. The video ends with him saying, "There's something in here, someone." But here's the thing, that GoPro model didn't even exist in 2012. So who filmed it, and what was waiting for him in that canyon? Liam Archer steps out of his rental, shoulder-strapped pack, and a sun-faded baseball cap, and for a moment he just breathes. You can almost feel it, that first inhale when everything still feels possible. The air in the Grand Canyon that morning tastes of hot stone and distant sage, dry as an old promise. He clicks his GoPro into place, cheap strap creaking, lens catching the canyon like a mouth opening to swallow the world. He talks to it, half for content, half for himself. "What's up, folks? Liam here. First time Grand Canyon. Let's see what she's hiding." His voice is easy, the kind of nervous laugh that greets risk like an old friend. The locals at the visitor center are polite, the way people are when they don't want to be cruel. An old ranger with sunspots on his forearms warns him about staying on marked trails. "Keep to the path," she says, and the line is more habit than fear. Another tourist, a woman with braided hair and a camera like his but bigger, leans in, half curious, half judging. "You going off trail?" she asks. Liam shrugs, grins. "Maybe. Depends on the light." They joke about hashtags and followers. A small crowd chuckles. The exchange is warm, familiar. No one says the word Liam would later wish they'd said. He finds his trailhead and walks in with the kind of pace that pretends to be confident. The canyon slopes, at first, are gentle, red stone, scrubby bushes, the occasional lizard that skitters like a thought. Liam keeps the GoPro rolling. He's not making a horror video, he's making a memory. He pans the lens wide, narrates tiny things, the way sunlight slants through a narrow cleft, the smell of dust after a wind, the little gold flecks that gleam in a creek bed. People watching at home would get the sense of a man falling very slowly in love with a place. About 3 hours in, he finds the echo zone. The phrase is small-town folklore, a shrug at the ranger's table, a nod across a campfire. When Liam finds the first rusted sign half buried in sand, it seems ornamental, warding unmarked terrain. He laughs at himself, presses the camera to his shoulder, and jokes at the lens. Echo zone, big whoop. He steps over the sign like stepping into another room. The light changes. You won't notice it at once, but there's a thinness to the sound, the way a room muffles when someone closes a door. Birds hush, wind that had been constant drops to a careful breathing. Liam talks quieter, like his voice is a pebble tossed into deep water. His breath fogs the mic. The GoPro registers everything. A shift in sand, a small rock rolling somewhere out of sight, the distant clink of a metal water bottle. He jokes under his breath about ghosts. The camera tilts to a ledge, and for a beat you think you see movement in the shadow. He squints, leans forward. Probably the wind," he says to the camera, but he says it to himself first. He sets up camp on a small bench, away from the main trail. There's a small cave mouth off to the left, like an open laugh in the rock. He pitches his tent slow, hands fumbling in the dryness, fingers scraping against the coarse fabric. Little micro-movements fill the footage, the zip of a tent, the snap of a buckle. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple and wiped with the back of a wrist. These details are human. They root the story in someone breathing, someone tiny and alive against this immense landscape. Night thickens. Liam cooks from a tiny stove, steam smelling faintly of powdered meal. There's a comfort in it, the kind you only get when hungry and honest. He keeps the camera on the tripod propped at the tent's mouth, the red recording light like a small observant eye. He talks low to the lens about plans, a sunrise hike, some cliff shots, and then he laughs. He'll upload it later, he says. He tucks the GoPro under a flap facing out, an afterthought. The camera hums quietly with the night. Around midnight, the GoPro's mic picks up a sound Liam doesn't. It's in the recording like a note under a note, a faint, slow exhale, as if someone is breathing against a cave wall far away. On footage later, you'll see him toss and turn. He mutters, half awake, weird dream, and pulls the sleeping bag tight. The tent cloth whispers. Outside, something moves, not with the crinkle of an animal.
This motion is deliberate, a slow stalking that doesn't belong to coyotes or lizards. The camera records the canvas of the tent, shifting, as if something large is turning its weight across it. A faint scrape across the floor, and then, silence. Liam sleeps on. Morning is not a clean line. It is a soft bleeding. He wakes with grit in his teeth. The GoPro's battery clocked through the night, and kept its pale watch. Liam steps out, yawns, reaches for the coffee-still-warm thermos. He sees the prints first, not far from the tent, a circle of depressions in the sand like the outline of a giant's shoe. They're too wide, too shallow to be human. The toes are wrong, too long, and the pattern repeats in a tight ring around his campsite, as if someone or something paced the perimeter all night. He crouches, fingers hovering, but not touching. He looks directly into the lens, and for the first time, the bravado is gone. Wow, he breathes. Okay, weird. A couple passing on the main trail later stop and peer down from the ledge. Did you see his tent? The woman whispers, half suspicious, half intrigued. Looks like someone who didn't know better, her companion says, folding his hiking poles like a card. They gossip, small and sharp, like people at a bar, comparing notes about a stranger. Behind them, another park visitor snaps a photo, comments loud enough to carry. Probably staged for views, right? People do anything for clicks. Liam, from the camera's perspective, is off camera, unaware of the whispering judgment. These human murmurs frame him, observers placing their small verdicts. He records himself brushing off dust, trying to laugh it off. He reproduces the sound of the footprints, mimics them with his shoes. Probably desert cattle, he says to the lens, and yet he keeps glancing at the cave. The cave offers nothing but a darker mouth, a hollow that yawns silence. The GoPro zooms in, catches a sliver of reflection like the glint on a wet eye. He steps closer, the sand collapsing under his boot, and the camera stutters, a micro glitch that makes the frame jump. For a breath, the audio warps, high, thin, and you hear barely what could be a human voice whispering his name. He turns around slowly, palms slightly raised, a gesture born of caution and a wish to remain gentle with the world. There's no one. The canyon stretches, indifferent. Liam smiles, but the smile does not reach his eyes. He picks up the camera, adjusts the strap, checks the battery. All right, he says to the lens, the words small, careful. Let's keep moving. You feel the moment like a held note. The scene doesn't explode. It tightens. The camera keeps watching, recording everything, and somewhere beyond the visible, something watches back.
By the second morning, Liam's rhythm slows. He walks the canyon floor like someone who's beginning to feel the place watching him back. The GoPro still clicks faithfully with that faint mechanical whine that only microphones catch. The sun is thin, washed out by dust, and the canyon air tastes like metal, like old pennies on the tongue. He adjusts his strap, muttering to himself, "Damn thing's heavier every mile," and then chuckles the way people do when they're trying to fill silence with something human. The laughter doesn't echo, it just dies. That's the first thing he notices, the way sound doesn't travel right here. Even the crunch of his boots seems to sink instead of bounce. When he stops to sip water, the GoPro catches a shimmer behind him, not movement exactly, more like the air bending under heat. Liam doesn't see it, not yet. He talks to the camera again. You ever get that feeling like someone's following but it's just the wind? He smiles, but the smile looks borrowed, thin around the edges. A breeze rises. It carries something faint and strange, like whispering, just below comprehension. The camera picks it up clearer than the ear could. Later, someone will isolate that sound and swear it's a voice, a man's voice, saying Liam's name. He keeps walking. The path narrows between two ridges. The red stone walls lean in like listening giants. A small rock drops from above, and he jumps. Whoa, okay, he says, heart thudding, breath catching in that dry air. He scans the ledge, sees nothing. When he camps again that evening, he places the GoPro near the tent entrance, lens aimed toward the shadows. It records everything, him kneeling over a small stove, stirring food, shaking his head. I don't know why I'm talking to this thing, he says softly, but it's like, better than talking to myself, right? Somewhere, far behind him, a shape crosses the canyon rim. You can't call it human. The frame lurches and blurs, and then it's gone. The night creeps in. Hours pass. The camera stays on, battery flashing low. The mic picks up little things, a zip opening, a cough, the scrape of his hand against nylon, and then, faintly, a sound like footsteps circling the tent. Slow, deliberate, crunching sand. Liam stirs. Probably an animal, he murmurs, but doesn't open his eyes. Around 3 a.m., the wind stops altogether. The tent fabric tightens, as if something pressed its weight against it, gently, like testing a boundary. Then the zipper twitches, just an inch. The camera's red light blinks once, reflecting on the half-open flap. Morning comes sluggishly. Liam steps out, squinting at the white sky. His coffee boils with that small metallic hiss. He looks around, and freezes. The same ring of footprints from before, only now they're deeper. There's a second set beside them, smaller, barefoot. He kneels, brushes the sand. His fingers tremble. He records a message, voice low. If anybody finds this, yeah, someone's been walking around me at night. 2 of them maybe. The tracks come and go. He pauses, bites his lip. Could be some other hiker, could be nothing. He sits back, lets the silence pool. Then faintly, a sound slips through the air. It's a laugh, far away but human. He stands abruptly, scanning the rim. Hello? Nothing, just a crow lifting off a distant cliff. Later that afternoon, 2 hikers pass his old campsite. They notice his tracks leading nowhere. One shakes his head. That guy still out there? The woman asks. Yup, saw his tent down by the Echo Ridge. She lowers her voice. Weird one, talking to a camera all the time. They move on, leaving their words drifting like dust behind them. Back in his footage, Liam sits by the fire. His shoulders slump, his face is drawn. The GoPro catches his hand, rubbing the back of his neck. Slow, distracted, almost like something's touching him there. He whispers. Feels like the air's watching me. The flames crackle louder for a moment, drowning out a second sound. A breath, too close to the mic to be his. By the 3rd day, Liam's tone changes. The easy confidence he had when he first arrived is gone, replaced by short, clipped breaths, and the kind of muttering you do when you're trying not to hear yourself think. The GoPro sits against his chest, swaying with each step. You can hear the strap creak under tension, his heartbeat quick and steady in the background. The canyon has gone quiet, not peaceful quiet, but the kind that feels staged. Even the wind seems to be holding its breath. He stops at a bend where the rocks rise sharp like broken teeth. All right, he says, wiping sweat from his brow. Let's just find the trail again. The footage shakes as he pulls out his map. He squints, frowns. The landmarks don't match. The little cliff that should be to his right is gone, or maybe it's somewhere else now. He mutters, how the hell did I cross the same wash twice? His voice cracks with disbelief. He looks at the camera, half laughing, half pleading. Maybe I'm tired. He doesn't finish the sentence. At noon, he finds something wedged between 2 boulders, a cairn of stones that wasn't there yesterday. On top, a strip of faded fabric flapping slightly. It's his, the one he tied to a branch near camp to mark direction. He stares at it, lips parted, then whispers, no, no, no. The GoPro zooms shakily. In the background, something moves past the canyon mouth, a blur of dark shape, human in height, but wrong in motion. He spins, camera jerking. Hey, he calls. His voice echoes back, delayed, like it has to travel through a tunnel before returning. Then, another echo answers. Not identical. It mimics him but misses the rhythm, too slow, too drawn out. He freezes. Hello? The echo repeats the word back, stretching it. Hello, until it sounds like breathing wrapped in a word. That night, the footage changes texture. The GoPro has been set down near a rock, its lens half covered in dust, giving the scene a grainy half-light. Liam's voice is near, trembling, whispering into the recorder. If someone finds this, it's following me. I don't think it wants me to leave. There's a scraping sound, stone against stone. He turns, flashlight beam darting. Dust dances like static. Then a sound, low and guttural, threads through the dark, a voice that doesn't belong to any throat. He backs away, breathing hard. The GoPro shakes violently, capturing fragments, his boots, the flashlight beam spinning, his shadow bending across the canyon wall. You catch flashes of him saying, "Stop, stop following me," but it's swallowed by static. The footage cuts abruptly. When the camera clicks back on, the timestamp jumps ahead 2 hours. The image is tilted sideways, recording the sand up close. No sign of Liam, only his water bottle rolling slowly with the wind. The background is filled with the hum of interference, like radio static buried under breath. Then faintly, a crunch, something heavy moving closer. The lens adjusts, tries to focus. For half a second, a shape passes, tall, bent, with limbs too long.
Its silhouette flickers in and out of frame as if the camera itself can't decide if it's real. The mic crackles. A whisper rides the distortion. Liam. The sound makes the frame tremble. The static swells, swallows everything, then cuts to black. Hours later, the GoPro reboots on its own, likely triggered by motion. It films the canyon under a thin sunrise. Liam's tent is still pitched, flap open, sleeping bag half dragged out as if he left in a hurry. There's a trail of footprints leading away from camp, then halfway across the sand, they just stop. No struggle, no sign of turning back, just an end. The camera keeps recording for another 3 hours. During that time, nothing happens, nothing moves. You hear the wind return, soft like the canyon exhaling, after holding something in. Then, just before the footage ends, a shadow crosses the lens. Slow, heavy, soundless. You can't see its source. The frame glitches once, freezing mid-image. In that frozen second, the shadow bends down, as if it's looking directly into the camera. And then, silence. Only the faint hum of the desert remains.
7 years after Liam's disappearance, the Grand Canyon had moved on. Tourists came and went, and the case had long gone cold, until a wildfire swept through a restricted area miles from where Liam vanished. As rangers cleared debris, one of them, Officer Daniels, noticed something glinting under the ash. A half-buried GoPro melted at the edges, its casing cracked but intact enough to recover data. When the footage was extracted, it revealed hours of static, dust, and wind until the final 2 minutes. Liam's breathing filled the speakers. His flashlight flickered as he stumbled into a narrow canyon slit, whispering, "There's something in here, someone." The frame jostled violently. A deep guttural hum vibrated through the microphone. The light swung wildly, catching what looked like a human hand pressed against the rock wall, but the fingers were impossibly long. Then the camera fell. The final frame froze on Liam's terrified eyes, staring up at something unseen. In the background, a faint reflection appeared on the cave wall, a silhouette watching him, perfectly still. When investigators revisited the site, they found the same narrow slit. Inside there were no bones, no clothing, just a single barefoot print pressed deep into the stone as if it had been burned there. The timestamp on the camera? June 12, 2019. 7 years after Liam disappeared, the footage shook the entire investigation team. Experts confirmed the GoPro model wasn't even released until 2018, 6 years after Liam vanished. So how did his camera and that final footage exist at all? Rangers scoured the GPS data, hoping for an explanation, but the coordinates in the video led to a canyon section that doesn't officially exist. On maps, it's a blank space between two cliffs, an area locals call the Hollow Mile, a place guides avoid after sunset. Liam's family reopened the case, demanding answers. The FBI briefly stepped in, but their files were sealed only weeks later. One ranger claimed the entire pit was suddenly restricted under a geological preservation order. Online forums obsessed over the frame-by-frame analysis of the video. Some say the reflection on the rock wasn't a silhouette at all, but Liam himself, older, standing behind his younger body. Others insist it was something else entirely, something that didn't move like a person. But the most disturbing part came from a park surveillance report leaked months later. At 2:14 a.m., a motion sensor near the canyon recorded a single barefoot print, fresh in the dust, leading toward the cliff edge. And then the camera that recorded it shut off on its own. To this day, the Grand Canyon authorities deny any connection between the footage and the 2012 disappearance. But if you visit that restricted ridge at night, locals say you can sometimes hear a man's voice echoing from below, whispering, "There's something in here, someone." If you were hiking that same trail and found a camera still recording after 7 years, would you dare to press play? Hit subscribe for more real disappearances, eerie footage, and stories that refuse to stay buried. Because sometimes the truth doesn't vanish, it just waits to be found.